Ladies and gentlemen, Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States. The people of this great nation has made their voice heard. Donald Trump is back now. Let's make crypto great again. This is very, very historic. I mean, you could see how crypto reacted. I mean, just look at the. We see a sea of green today. I mean, look at Theta is up over 10%. XRP about 5%, IMX 10%. But look at Bitcoin. Oh my goodness, it's up almost 10% for Bitcoin. That's incredible. I don't think Bitcoin has ever had a 10% day in a long time. We just crushed the 75K area. Like I said last night, we could probably see, upwards of 75K to 80K before seeing a nice pullback here. So here's the whole thing now, right? Is the diagonal still in play? I mean, technically it is, but it's getting less probable. And what I mean by that, right, is we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you get a 5. But the further this gets extended, the less likely it is that it's going to be a diag. So usually diagonals, they have an overthrow, and you can see we got a little bit of an overthrow. So we're just gonna have to, wait a little bit here. I think obviously the other alternative, right, is the 1-2-1-2 setup, which is right. We obviously had a 3-wave move down. We had 3 waves up, and we had 5 down. So there's your A, B, C. All right, and then we had a wave 1, and then we had an expanded flat for wave 2, and then we had another wave 1. And then another 2. And this is obviously another wave 1. Or it could be wave 1 of the third, or it could be another wave 1 of 2, or just a wave 1. So for example, we see like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So we're probably going to flag out for another 2, and then get that big wave 3, because I don't know if we can get wave 3 right now. The price comes up, resets. Price comes up, resets. I'm not sure how much momentum we can get out of here. So let's look at a couple fib retracements here. So if I take a trend-based fib extension, and we'll just do the small one here from this wave down to here, you can see we already cleared the 1-to-1. The 1618 comes in at 80K, so there's a good chance we can hit 80K. If you look at this move, right, because this is actually the start of the wave right here. 1, 2, you can see 3, 4, and now we're going up into a 5. Wave 4 is a running flat, it seems to be. So, but look, you can also see the 1-to-1 extension comes in around that 80K, 81K area. So let's say that we get up to 80K. Does that invalidate the diagonal? Well, I want to say yes. But even if we didn't, even if it wasn't, we still need a little bit of a flagging out, because anytime you break above the all-time high, there's a couple ways it can happen. So either one, you just have an explosive breakout, and then you come all the way back down and you back test, and then you continue higher. Or number 2, you sort of creep up, and then you break your way up here, and then you sort of work your way back down, and you kind of flag out above the all-time high, below the all-time high, and then eventually, and it makes people second guess, right? Because you're above the all-time high, and then you flag out, now you're below the all-time high, so it's like, I don't know, what's it doing? Is it a trap? Is it not? Right? And then eventually it continues higher. So yeah, very, very bullish, very historic. Look at that daily candle. This is why this is why I voted for Trump. And I got people who tell me, "What? Don't say that. Don't. Because what if Trump doesn't win? You're gonna look. Well, I was pretty certain he was gonna win just because, I have good intuition when it comes to these things. And then also, I've been following Trump ever since he's been doing The Apprentice. I've read several of his books, mostly the money side of it. So I just felt like this was the time for him to succeed, and it was. And look at crypto. This is how crypto responded, right? With a massive daily engulfing candle breaking above the all-time high. Look at this. We're almost at $76,000 Bitcoin. So, obviously the crypto community, the Bitcoin community, they all felt like this was the right move. Now you can see people reacting to it, right? So now people know, okay, Gary Gensler's going to be fired. So, regulations are coming, right? So now people can have a sense of relief, right? Because this was all uncertainty, right? What's going to happen? And now Trump had a clear and decisive win. So that means that, crypto can progress forward, right? So how interesting is it? And that's why I was a little bit skeptical, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we flag out. If we had some type of election chaos, I can see that, right? So, but he had a slam dunk. He had a landslide, right? And they still cheated. They still cheated a lot. And I think all of that stuff will come out. Because if you lose the election and say you cheated, you look like a sore loser, right? But if you win the election and then you come out and say, yeah, they still cheated. And it's like, well, what do you mean? You won. Why would they cheat? Well, you can still cheat and still lose, right? So, I think as far as the election interference, them coming out with an excuse as to why he won, I haven't seen anything like that. Like I said, I hope it's smooth and clean and nothing happens and Trump has a slam dunk. And so far, that's what it appears to be. But knowing the left, knowing the radical left, I mean, they have really no options left. So it makes me think, well, what are they going to do? What are they going to try to pull out of their hat, right? Whatever it is, it's not going to be believable. So they can come out and say, yeah, Russia interfered or this or that, but it's not going to be believable. So it makes me think, are they even going to do it, right? So that was kind of my first, sort of prediction is, yeah, Trump's going to win, but they're going to come out and say, oh, he did this or did that or some type of interference. Again, we haven't seen that, which is good. I'm thankful. So, but here's the thing. We still have 90 days just about until he takes office. So a lot can happen in 3 months. So the Democrats can wreak havoc in the next 3 months. They could crash the economy. They could crash the banks. They can cyber attack financial systems. And it's like, well, why would they do that? Well, because they want to paint the image that America got it wrong, right? So for example, let's say you had a big stock market crash, then everyone's like, well, why is the market crashing? Well, because Trump won, obviously, but it's actually them orchestrating it. Do I think they're going to crash the market? I don't know that exactly. I don't think so because the Fed, and it really has more to do with the Fed, right? Because they're going to be lowering rates again. So that's another reason. But, the stock market should be staying okay. But the actual cutting cycle of rates oftentimes hurts the market, right? So anytime you raise interest rates, and then you flatten them out, and then you start lowering them, it ends up superseding like some type of recession, right? But we know the market is going to continue to pump because the Fed, right? Like watch Gregory Mannarino on YouTube, and he'll explain like the Fed is the main puppet master in this whole game, and they're the ones who are really trying to buy everything, own it all, right? As they say. So they don't care about dollar bills. They create dollar bills in the back room. So they use those dollar bills to basically control and do things that they need to do, right? So anyway, I'm so happy that Trump won, and man, all the liberals are melting down, and it's like, why? Like, I get that you don't like the guy, but I mean, at the end of the day, people voted with their pocketbooks. People voted with their wallets. People voted because of inflation. They voted because of the economy, right? Kamala Harris was in the White House for 4 years. She didn't do anything. Well, she was vice president. She couldn't do anything. Well, no, you could have done something, right? She doesn't tell you what she's going to do. She doesn't know anything. Like, she just, and people weren't going to buy it, right? So I don't believe for a second she got over 60 million votes, right? And if you look at the last election, right, I think Trump got more votes last election than this election. But how is that even possible when you had so many more people flipping blue to red? I mean, a lot of people. So that's why I think there's a lot of fraud going on in the election. I think all of that stuff's going to be uncovered. All I'm saying is there's going to be some type of event that they're going to pull, right? I don't know what it is, but they're going to do something, right? Maybe it has to do with his felonies, or maybe it has to do with lawsuits, or who knows. But that event could cause a little bit of speculation, a little bit of chaos. But man, I couldn't pray for anything more to be a smooth election. Like, I felt like, you know what, we're not going to know the election for a couple days because they're going to try to pull something. But we actually knew last night because, again, he said it was too big to rig. It was just way too big to rig, right? If it's a close race, you can easily sort of tip the scale in one way or the other. But the fact that it wasn't, it was a clear, decisive win. So, and we can see crypto totally responding to that, right? So you can see, right, higher highs, higher lows, right? You can see we're kind of in this channel here. There we go. So, I'm thinking maybe we're going to go back and retest the top of this channel somewhere in this area, right up here around 80K, right? It lines up with 2 Fibonacci levels. It lines up with the parallel channel. But you know what? Even if we pulled back now, 75, 76K is still a really good number, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if we can maintain the all-time high. So this area right in here, can we maintain that, right? That's going to be the interesting part. And in order to do that, we need to basically consolidate or break out a lot more and sort of consolidate up here, right? Maybe come down, tagging it, and then continuing higher, right? So let's talk about a few ideas. So obviously it could still be technically a diag or a B wave. For example, you have 1, 2, 3 waves down, and then you have 1, 2, right, 3 waves up. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So A, B, C. And then they can come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, break the low, right, and then take it up massively. And what that is an expanded flat. Now, they don't have to come all the way down here. They can come here and take it up. They can come here and take it up, or they can break the low and take it up. It could be a flat, a running flat, or an expanded flat. Am I saying that's my count? Am I saying that's what's going to happen? No, right? But that is a valid idea, and we should definitely, be cautious about that. So, again, I'm not going to even think that if we start breaking this low and this low, right, and then we can start discussing that. But right now, there's no evidence to think that, right? The only thing I don't like about the price is the way it moved up. It moved up in sort of like this rising wedge, and usually rising wedges break to the downside. But if they do break to the downside, that's okay, but we want it to be corrective. We want the price action to be corrective as it moves down. Or we have to break out so decisively that we get far away from the scene of the crime. We get far away from that rising wedge. So, I mean, here's a little bit of an example of a rising wedge, something like that, right? Or for example, you can see this one here too, right? You see actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you get to pull back. Well, you kind of have that in you know, kind of a small way. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? And you got that rising wedge look, but it's not a perfect one. It looks really like a channel, you know, more than a rising wedge. But if you add this one in there, it's a little bit subjective. So I actually like the channel a lot better. And, you know, the 1, 2, 1, 2 setup is looking really good. So this is exactly what we wanted to see. If we pull up some Fibonacci retracements here, where can this thing ultimately go? Well, first of all, I'm thinking, you know, at least 87, between 83 and 80, say 90K, right? Well, actually, we'll say 85 to 90K. That's where I think we're ultimately heading. Not right away. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, this is a good step in the right direction. This is exactly what we've been talking about all through here, that this is a fourth wave. A lot of people had doubts. A lot of people thought, you know, we were going to go down. I said it was definitely a possibility we could go down into reaccumulation, but that was not my first choice. The reason why is because we're impulsing, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see a clear wave 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see a clear wave 4. When you look at wave 4 and wave 2, they're in the same degree, which means we should expect a wave 5. And then once we get the top of wave 5, right, that's when we should start to see alt season right through in here, because it happened last time. So here's Bitcoin running, and look what it did. Once it started doing this, that's when the altcoins went absolutely crazy, right? So I can prove it just by putting, like, for example, Theta up. You can see, right, Bitcoin's moving up. Theta's moving sideways a little bit up, right? But then once we hit right here, that's when we had the really huge rally. I mean, we went all the way up to, I think, was it $15 for Theta, but not just Theta, but a lot of the other coins. But it didn't happen until Bitcoin was already at the top, right? Bitcoin had already went up. The bull market was over. It was basically done, right? We were just in distribution. And that's when we saw the massive slam dunk in the altcoin. So if you translate that to what's happening right at this second, right, you can see something very similar. Bitcoin's revving up, altcoins are basically flat, right? So then, you know, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once we get that fifth wave, and then we start doing this, right, I can see, like, for example, let's say Bitcoin gets up here and we start to flag out. Boom. Okay. Well, then let's say Theta gets up here, right, towards the retracement levels. It starts to flag out. And then Bitcoin continues higher, right? Basically, you know, that's the end of the bull market. And then that's when we see distribution. And then that's when we see altcoins just start ripping, like, very fast to the upside, right? So that's kind of how I'm thinking here, which means it could take a little bit of time. Let's go to Theta real quick. You can see, right? Let me go to the higher time frame so we can get the whole thing in. And then we can put, I guess we could put Bitcoin up now. Yeah, so here is, actually, let me put a retracement from the top down to the bottom. So right around here is my target, which is $8 to $10, right? So I want to see $8 to $10 for the price of Theta in a retracement. And then once we once we start, going into distribution, hopefully we can get there quickly, right? Because we don't really we don't really have much time. But knowing the altcoins, they don't really need a lot of time. I mean, look at this move. This was a huge, I think it was a 200% move, and it happened quick, right? And if you look at, for example, Theta back in 2021, right? I mean, this whole thing, let's put it from here all the way up, it took about 240 days, right? So, we'll see how long we have with Bitcoin. But remember, Bitcoin went sideways, right, for a while. Like, let's look at this. Bitcoin went sideways. It basically set a top right here. And then it went sideways all the way for about 75, 80 days before it ultimately went down. So when you look at Bitcoin back in 2016, this is exactly what I think is happening with the price of Theta and a lot of other coins. I mean, you can see how we just ripped off the bottom, similar to right here, right? So basically, this is a fractal of what Bitcoin did back in the day. I mean, you can see it very clearly. I talked about it yesterday, but essentially, this is what we're looking for the price of Theta. Basically, getting back up here and working our way, and basically just having a big bull run, right? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be so easy, but this is the way it looks. You can see very clearly, right? We had a 1, 2, 3-way move to the upside. We flushed the low and we blasted off. That's the same thing what's going on now. We have a 3-way move up. We flushed the low. Let's see if we can get up here, flag out a little bit, and work our way back to the top. But yeah, this area right here, like I've been saying, looks a lot like Wyckoff, and that's exactly what this was. This was Wyckoff accumulation. We came up, came back down, came back up, had the spring phase, had the liquidity grab, and then boom, took off. The same thing is going on here, right? We got that liquidity grab. And like I was saying earlier, here's our support. Whoops, let me do that one more time. You can see support, right? And we just bring that line across. You can see we had that liquidity grab. And look how the price reacted, right? It felt like, we broke the low, we're going to keep going down. But bam, we shot up really quite strongly. So this is a very good sign, to be quite honest. And this is exactly, kind of how we were thinking about it, right? 3 up, right? We got 3 down, right on support. So what comes next? We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, right? And then there's your Wyckoff. And then we hopefully continue higher. So that's the way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at everything. So let's go back to this. We'll look at the small time frames now. Let's look at the 1 hour chart and we'll see what we did. So would I buy it right now? Probably not. I actually definitely not, because I'd have no entry, right? I need an A, B, C. I need something like that. I want to see it flag out in here, maybe get a little bit of a falling wedge and we can break out. But right now it's a little bit extended. I mean, there's a lot of exuberance. I mean, look at this. You got IMX 10%. I mean, the market is flooded with green double-digit numbers. So this is really not the time you want to be buying right now. So let's look for opportunities. Now, the good thing about it is if this is a wave 1, right, we're going to look for a wave 2. And then we position ourselves in that wave 2 to set up for that wave 3. That's why I recommend subscribing. And by the way, I'm going to send out a members video this week going over that exact strategy. Because if the bottom is in, Trump's, he succeeded. And, there's no reason to really be completely bearish on crypto anymore because of all the things he said. I mean, look at all the things he's already said about crypto at the Bitcoin conference, at all these different blockchain podcast, right? I mean, he's done a lot of interviews in regards to crypto. So people are very bullish and optimistic for the future. So now things are starting to get priced in ahead of the election. The price moves first, and then the news or the event happens later, right? So Trump can be in office, let's say in January, right? And then, or let's say, 3 months later, now we're starting to kind of cool off with the price, because the price already, you know, is being priced in bullishly. So looking at the 1 hour chart, right, I don't see anything at the moment. We still haven't had a higher high yet, right? And I think it's a little bit extended. See, the problem is, we came down, but we didn't create a base, right? We need to create a base. That's what I wish would have happened. I wish we kind of went sideways like this, and then all of a sudden Trump wins, and then we blast off, right? But the fact that, you know, we had this move down and then we shot straight up, this is not sustainable, right? Because we need to, look at this big move to the downside. We need to get further away from the scene of the crime and then go up. So that makes me think we're probably going to have a pullback, maybe even retest somewhere in these lows in here, right? Maybe somewhere in here. Come back down and retest the area. And there's your wave one, there's your wave two, right? And look at this. Now you got a shoulder. Whoa. Now you got a head. And look at this. Now you can curl around for that right shoulder. And that makes sense that it's stalling out right at that neckline. And then boom, 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 right? So it's looking quite amazing. It doesn't feel good to be down in the gutter, right? Because the value of the crypto you hold. And I use Theta as an example. I'm talking about all the other charts, right? When I'm talking about Theta. So, but the reason I talk about it, number one, because I like it, but also it's such a poster child for the altcoins for as far as the chart goes, right? It looks exactly like it's supposed to. So yeah, my main idea now, I mean, it's always been the same, which is, let's put our little bit of a base in here, right there, right? I've been talking about Wyckoff since back over here, and I said if we break out, it's very less likely. We broke this high, and I said it's less likely that we would get Wyckoff. But then we came down, we flagged out, and now it's looking definitely like we can get some type of Wyckoff scenario. So, we got it. We come back down, right? We had the liquidity grab. Now we kind of need to flag out a little bit, pull back, work our way back up, maybe pull back, and then gradually get back up here, hopefully quickly, and then sort of flag out at the top, and then boom, break out. So that's my main idea right there. So we'll see how all that plays out. Now, as far as a wave two, it can go a couple different ways. Number one, it can go in a channel like this, like a running flat. It can be bullish like this and then break out. Those are very common. Number two, it can flag down like this and then break out. That's also very common, right? Or you can kind of get like an inverse head and shoulder, something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Now, this wave might not even be finished. For example, let's go down to a smaller time frame here, right? I mean, we could still be in the fifth wave. For example, we only have 3 waves. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we come up and get 5, right? That's what I really want to see. I want to see us get back up to $1.30, to be quite honest. Let's get up here and then start to flag out and then continue higher. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So maybe another hit to the high, right? Because you can see we haven't quite made it to the top yet. So if we look a little bit closer, Yeah, so when I zoom in, it looks a little bit corrective. Let me go back to the other chart. There we go. It looks definitely a little bit corrective on the 15-minute. You could see a nice three-wave pullback, and this could be a 1-2-1-2, or it could be part of a B wave where you get something like this. So you get 3 down, you get 3 up, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. You get like a big ABC, and then push higher into that 5th wave, right? But it can't get too big, right? It can't get too big. Maybe something like this, hit the high, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then we can flag out and then continue. So yeah, things are looking very positive for crypto. Now, let's talk ultimate bearish ideas. What if this is just a trap? This is just a lie. This is a bull trap, and we're going to continue going down. Well, in that instance, I would still say that it's still going to be some kind of 5th wave, or even still completing that, that Wyckoff scenario that we were talking about. So, for example, you got 1, 2, you got 3, maybe this is a 4, right? And then we still need 5. I mean, that's still entirely possible. I'm not saying that's likely, but it's possible, right? And we can even break this low and then circle up and go higher. And if we did that, that would be very, very bullish, because that would still be essentially like a Wyckoff, right? And there's your liquidity grab right there. So, or you can look at it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So either way, I'm expecting higher prices. I'm expecting a retracement. It's just all about, the tricky part is how do we get there, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the price of Theta. Let's move on. Let's look at Shiba. So Shiba is a little bit more challenging, simply because it's stuck in this range here. It hasn't had any decisive breakout. It comes back up, comes back down, comes back up, comes back down. So it could be looked at in a couple different ways, and it's a little bit challenging. I mean, according to this XRP fractal right here, you can see kind of what it does, according to building a base, Wyckoff, and all that stuff. So if we kind of overlay it with total 3, I'll get the SHIB back in a second, but you can see pretty much. So you have 3 waves up, you have 3 waves down, you have 3 waves up, and we can still get 3 waves down. So that's kind of looking at it through the bearish lens, but it would ultimately be very bullish. So that's all I'm saying is let's be a little bit cautious here, because this looks kind of like a flat. I mean, you can technically say it's 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3 up, and then we have 1, 2, 3 down, but it's kind of small, right? And from a time perspective, you can see we go all the way up, come all the way down, then we blast off. We go all the way up, we come up. Well, we haven't done it yet. We haven't come all the way down yet to then blast off. I'm not saying that has to happen. I'm just saying, it's definitely in the cards of it potentially happening. You can see this point here, point there, there. You can see this one here, right? And then we work our way down, and then maybe we have to work our way down. So that's all I'm saying. Do I think that's got to happen? I mean, not necessarily, but from a time perspective, right? This could be an A, and then we have 1, 2, 3 for a B, and then we could come down and maybe get a running flat, or maybe an expanded flat. But even if we did that, we still wouldn't have to come all the way back down here like what XRP did. It could be A, B, and then maybe just a little bit of a C, take that liquidity, and then kind of work your way up. So it's still, it's still a little bit debatable how it's going to actually go down, but you can see we're running into resist. We had no clear decisive breakout with total 3, right? So the altcoins, as far as I'm concerned, are still ranging. So boom, 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 right? So we came all the way from the bottom of the range all the way to the top. So it's, you know, at the very least, the way we can sort of negate coming all the way back down here is simply, let me go to the 4-hour chart. Yeah, look at the 4-hour. It still looks okay. Is basically, maybe flagging out a little bit. And if we can get a bullish ABC, then this could be like a wave 1, a wave 2, and then we can get a decisive breakout. So we'll see about that. All right, so let's go back to full screen here, and let's just jump to XRP. So XRP, as you know, I mean, this is really the biggest victory for XRP, because think about it. Ripple and Gary Gensler, right? So we really want to see Donald Trump destroy Gary Gensler, fire him, appoint a new SEC chairman, right? And hopefully they can throw out the Ripple case. All the choke point 2.0, all of these crypto companies that are getting sued left and right by the SEC, I mean, they really need to just, if you're doing something wrong, then of course, right, you got to go after them. But if everybody's trying to just play by the rules, then they should just drop all those ridiculous cases, especially the one against Ripple. It's been going on way too long. The judge already ruled. They appealed, but the new chairman needs to throw that appeal out. So hopefully something like that happens. But my fear is that the new chairman's going to be like optical and, politically correct, and oh yeah, I don't want to disrupt the process. I don't want to interfere in any past litigation, so I'm going to kind of remove myself from that because that wasn't my deal. I hope that's not the case. I hope they come in there and say, no, you're fired, get out. We're not doing this anymore. So, if you look at XRP, I mean, we're still pumping pretty good here. I mean, it looks, we're starting to clear that high. So to me, looks like a potential, you can say 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1, 2. All of that's 3. Then we flag out for a 4 and then get wave 5. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Or you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we start to flag out here above this, right? Maybe come down and back test it and then continue to the upside. So I feel like the bottom is in, right? And again, I haven't changed my idea the entire time. My idea has been the same for the last several months, which is a flat, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your 1. And then we have a 3-way pullback. There's your A. And then we have 1, 2, 3. There's your B. Right? And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in wave 5. And then we had a 1, 2, and now this looks like another impulse. Right? So this could be a flat with one more hit to the low, but I don't think so. But it definitely looks like a flat as of now. So the way we can get rid of that flat is to flag out and hit the high. Right? And then, continue. So shoulder, head, shoulder. So basically what this is an A, B, C, right? So you got your impulse, you got your 3-way pullback, you're building the base down in here, right? You're starting to pump, you're starting to challenge the top of the range. I mean, it's looking really good. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, it's right on the money here. So let's look at XRP on the small time frames. Look at the 7-minute chart. So this is how you really learn how to trade, is just follow the chart, right? You don't have to put any money up, but you can just, demo trade for yourself and see how you do. I mean, this looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You got a little bit of a pullback. You got another 1, 2. That was a running flat. And now, so you have a 1 2 1 2. This looks like maybe a wave 3, and then you get a 4, and now it looks like a 1 2, maybe we're getting a 5. So yeah, I mean, it looks spot on. I love it. I love it. Let's go. One thing that I'm really sad about is Tia. Because I didn't get in Tia. I looked at it as, okay, we dropped down, we're bottlenecking, we could hit the low. So I was kind of waiting. That's kind of what it looked like to me, especially with the unlocking of all the tokens. So I kind of waited, and I'm kind of mad at myself because that thing went up a lot. I mean, it went up, what, 20% off the low? Look at that, 21% off the low. So it's okay. I'm going to have to wait my turn for a pullback because look, I've been talking about Tia for a long time. And look at this. We have this beautiful impulse, and then we have this three-way pullback. I mean, it's clear as day, right? The only bearish thing I can see is potentially this is 1, 2, 3, and then we get 4 and then 5. But I don't think so. I mean, it's entirely possible. But I think it's a WXY. So you have like 3. I mean, it really looks like 5 though. You have 3 and boom. So you can see, support. I mean, we came right back down to this range, and we bounce off the range, bounce off the range, bounce off the range, bounce off the range, and now look at, we're bouncing off the range. So very, very cool for Tia. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Man, there's just no entry for me at all. I mean, look at the way it came up. I mean, that's very bullish how it comes up, and then it just comes up, it kind of goes sideways a little bit, boom, and it pops the high. So that's how you know it's definitely bullish. So let's see if we get more momentum, or let's see if we get a pullback coming up soon. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Tia. When we zoom out completely here, ultimately we have a big impulse, a big bear market, a big base, right? This is all leading up into a retracement. So that's my main idea for that. We should see a retracement soon. CRV is another one I kind of missed. I didn't get the perfect entry, but I still got it. Yeah, it definitely looks much more like a falling wedge now. Look at that. That looks like a beautiful falling wedge. So you have an impulse, and then you're just wedging in here, and then eventually you break out. So the target here is getting back to the top of the range. So that's my idea for CRV. Let's look a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Wow. Yeah, you could see it really clearly, like a 1 2, maybe a 3, a 4, and then maybe, I think we're getting our final push for a 5. So it's really hard for a lot of people because when they see the market pumping, they don't want to miss out. But I stress to people, just be patient. It's going to come back. It always does. It always comes back. But for me, that's why I always say dollar cost average, because you just never know what the next day is going to bring. So yeah, CRV looks pretty good. We already talked about XRP. We already talked about Theta. I mean, it's still chilling at $1.20. I mean, we haven't really seen any rejection yet, so I'm thinking maybe $1.22 to $1.23, and then we can start seeing maybe a pullback. One of them I did get it was Axelar. I was able to pick up some Axelar after missing out this ABC. I didn't get my order filled there, so yeah, Axelar looks decent. It looks like 1 2 3 4 5, and then we have an ABC, and now we pumped up. Let's see if we flag out for a wave 1, wave 2, and then we can get wave 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, Axelar looks pretty good. We're in this channel here, and we basically just bounced off the channel, so that's good. The person who got me onto Axelar was actually Paul Barron. Paul Barron says he's very bullish on Axelar. He talked about it. He said that's one of his small cap gems. So we'll see. I know he's a very good researcher, so I took his word for it, and that's partly why I got Axelar. So we just have to be a little bit cautious here, because you do have a three-way move up, but we don't have a three-way move down. See, that's the problem, guys. When I look at Axelar, it just doesn't look finished, because when you compare that, to that XRP fractal we were just looking at, you can see, right? You can see 3 up, and then we had 3 down. So same thing here. We have 3 up, but we don't have 3 down yet. So that's why I think some of these charts look like it could be a dead cat bounce with further downside. Other charts, like Axelar, total 3 looks like it could need more down. So we get 3 up. I'm still thinking here we get 3 down, just to kind of fill in some of this gap down in here, right? Maybe test some of that support and then start to work your way up. So it's not a necessity that has to happen, but just having that right look, right? It just gives it the right look where you kind of flag out in here. So let's take this off, and my question for you is this enough, right? We cupped up into the resistance in here, right? We broke out, and now we're kind of flagging out. So it appears like, yeah, it could definitely be enough, especially when you look at it from this perspective. Now, from this perspective, you have your Wyckoff in here. Here's your creek. We break out, and now we're kind of playing around, and then eventually you break out. Yeah, from that perspective, it does look like Wyckoff, right? And it looks like the Wyckoff pattern is already complete, and we're just basically consolidating at that top range before you break out. Another one I think is going to be interesting is Bohm. Just by the way it kind of looks, like once we get into alt season and altcoin meme mania, you're gonna see some crazy stuff. So I'm trying to look for coins that haven't really made their debut yet, and I think Bohm could be potentially one of them. I have no idea about it. I'm just looking at the chart. I like this downward resistance line. Look at that. It's perfect. It's basically perfect here, right? You got a little bit of a falling wedge, sort of. You break out, and then you have a 3-way move, and you back test it perfectly, and we impulsed off of it perfectly. So now we're coming right up to resistance in here. So let's see. What I really want to see is it to pull back a little bit. I want to see it flag out between now and, let's say, next week. So probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I kind of want to see some consolidation, consolidate a little bit, reset the oscillators, reset the momentum, right? Give people an opportunity to buy the dip and then break out, right? So that would be nice. So Sui had a big day too. It came right back to the top. I didn't get to buy it because I felt like it wasn't enough for me. It really had a shallow retracement. But it could still be, for example, you have 3 down, right? All we have is 3 up. So we have 3 down, we have 3 up. We could still get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. It could still be a much larger ABC. Remember, the altcoins are still very fragile right now, especially you saw how big of a hit they took when Bitcoin started to go down. So if Bitcoin gets a sizable correction, let's say it corrects back down to 71K, these altcoins are probably going to get, beat up a little bit. So, we're pretty close to a breakout here, but you have point A, you have point B. You're sort of right in the middle here. So it can really go either way. So we have 3 down, 3 up. We can get 5 down, or this is all you need, right? You could say A, B, C. It was a running flat, and there's your 1, 2. And now we're about to go up into that third wave, and then 4, and then 5. So those are the 2 ideas for SUI. ICP, I mean, you made your way back down here, right? You hit the high, and now I want to see it flag out and get away from all of this, and then eventually break out. So let's keep moving. Zcash. Whoa, look at Zcash. Zcash is pumping. So yeah, that's the thing, you know. Here's point A, here's point B, and then when you're in the retracement levels, it's always challenging. Like, which way is it going to go, you know? So obviously we went the right way. Yeah, you could see, right, we had to move down, right? Boom, boom. Or actually, let's zoom in to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so you can see, for example, you have A, B, or W, X, and Y. There's your 3-wave move, and then here's a 1, here's a 2, and now we're going up into 3, 4, and 5. Right? Or you can say we have 3 down, and we have 3 up, but the further away this gets extended, the less likely it is that it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So 3, 3, 5, go. Honestly, it looks really bullish right now, so I don't know if that's what it's going to be. But yeah, the privacy coin Zcash is making a comeback here. So when you zoom out on Zcash, it actually looks really bullish because of it built such a big base, and it just looks like it needs a retracement. Look at all of that empty space up there. This coin went up like 40%, and I'm a little bit upset about this one because, man, look at that thing. That thing ripped hard. Look at that. That went up, what was it, like 55%. But, you know, it had a beautiful, I wasn't paying attention. It had a beautiful 3-wave move there, right? So we were, look at that. And this just is an example. You have you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's your impulse, right? And then you're flagging out, and then boom, you get the big breakout. So right on. So now we just have to wait and see how this plays out. I mean, some of the coins, it kind of looks like a flat there, right? It's you know, we're still way below the bottom of the range, right? We're sort of at the, you know, the bottom of the range. So I feel like, you know, we need a little bit more wave definition to really get a feel of what's going on here. So what I would like to see is this to pull back a little bit, you know, get away from this impulse, work your way back up, same thing, and then just start, you know, moving on higher. You know, we had 3 up, and we had to move back down. We came right back to support. So this is the, you know, support. This is the chance for us to build upon it. Same thing with Filecoin. I mean, look at that. You had this nice 3-wave move. Boom, 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 boom. Came right back down here. Very powerful impulse. Even had a 3-wave here. So let's flag out and continue higher. Is it possible? Now let's talk ultra bull. What if we don't need a flag out? What if this just goes a little bit but then comes really high right up to the top here, and then we flag out? So that's another way to look at it. But it's gonna have to, you know, usher in a lot more momentum. Look at Matic. Matic is making a comeback. Everyone thought Matic was dead. I said, no, it's not dead. It's just finishing up. Look, we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty simple, right? And like I said too, we had some massive bullish divergence here. You see the bullish divergence? Boom. So, but now we have bearish divergence a little bit. So it kind of needs to cool off. to be quite honest. It needs to chill out a little bit and gear up for the next move. QNT also looks bullish, still pumping up a little bit. Kind of looks like a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we're still in the third wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flag out for a 4 and then get a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think we got a little bit further to go with some of these coins. One thing I really like about it is you got 3 up, you came all the way back down to support, and now we blasted off. So we're holding. This is the area we need to hold. Same thing with AVAX. You had 3 up, you had 3 down. It didn't get back down to support, but you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, right? So you had a proper ABC. So let's see. I didn't turn on the sequential or anything. Look at that. We're on a 9. I haven't even checked. We're on a 9 on AVAX. Let's see. Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a 9 a little earlier. Flow's on a 9. Tia's not. Let's see. Algo hit a 9. But just because it hit a 9 doesn't mean it's got to pull back. We could have a 1 to 4 candle correction, or it could be a short-term pullback. But yeah, Algorand, I mean, they all look the same, right? When you compare it to, like, for example, Theta, we had this 3-wave move down. We came right back to support. So it's all about building upon this support. Like I said, I believe the bottom was in. I still, stood by my decision. With the chance of it having sort of a Wyckoff spring. But now that we had this big pump, it gets a little bit less likely. But look at XRP versus Bitcoin. That's an extreme bullish divergence. Look at that. That's pretty extreme right there. So interesting. It looks like we had like a 1, 2. I'm not even gonna try to count that. That's too much. Not enough time. Total 3. Look at total 3, guys. It's still pumping. Look at that. It's still pumping. Look at this. So with total 3, I mean, look at it. See how I think this is going to break out. Look at it. It gets right to the top here, and it kind of coils up, and then boom, it just breaks. Right? So, or we could see 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, and then you get 1, 2, 3 back down. So WXY or ABC, and then go. I'm hoping for that, just so I can buy the dip. Dogecoin. Yeah, Dogecoin looks a little bearish, kind of flagging out in here. But it should, because look at the run up it had. It had a massive run up. Dogecoin, when you compare that to something like Theta, I mean, look at the difference. I mean, Theta's way down here. Dogecoin just split to the upside, right? So, it tells me that eventually Theta will as well. So definitely divergence with that. So look at XDC, and it really looks like a lot like Ethereum did back in the day. So for example, right, and also Theta too, right? So it has big move down, and then it kind of makes this W pattern. You can see the W pattern, right? So look at that. I mean, looks spot on. We had sort of like this 3-wave move down, kind of had a 3-wave move down, looks more like 5. But you had 3 up, so this thing should kick up into high gear and have this nice W pattern look to it. So, all right, guys, I think that'll do it. Remember, this fractal here is still very much in play. All right, man. All right, guys. All right. What a day. If you haven't already, subscribe to or follow my X account and at Brandon Law XRP. Look at this. Brad Garlinghouse tweeted out, "Congratulations, real Donald Trump." Listen to what he says. For your first 100-day checklist to get things moving, fire Gary Gensler, no delays. In his place, appoint. Oh, he's already talking about who to appoint. You can see those names. And last but not least, if we can get some clarity, that would be nice. And Kamala Harris down 90%. Wah, wah, wah. So, as the left would say, enjoy your cheap gas.
You voted against me. You have voted against my right to live. You voted against all the women and their rights. I hope you enjoy your cheap fucking gas.